start the webinar. I'd like to introduce you to the presenters. I am Zoe Zori, and I'm with Global Management Challenge based here in Washington, D.C. And today joining us is our chairman, Mr. Sylvester John. He is the chairman of Global Management Challenge USA, as well as Global Management Challenge in Ghana, and a senior executive with Walmart headquarters based out of their headquarters in Bentonville, Arkansas. With regards to our agenda, we've got a pretty packed agenda. I think just to kind of set the expectations, we may not be able to get to all of the questions today, but we want to give you an overview of the most essential parts of the Global Management Challenge experience, answer some of your critical questions, point you to resources, and then open the doors for more questions in the weeks ahead as you take this journey with us. So first and foremost, we'll go through a brief overview of Global Management Challenge. I know that many of you probably are very familiar with the organization, but we do have some folks who are new to the challenge, and so we'd like to just provide them a general overview. Our chairman will also share a little bit with you about the value proposition and some observations from his end and his experiences around the globe with our organization. I'll then talk to you a little bit about the competition framework and timeline. We'll give you some insights on how to best organize your team, and we'll spend a little bit of extra time on key tools and resources and walk you through those. That will be quite a bit of information, so we'll stop for a quick 5, maybe 10 minutes to answer any questions that you have up until that point. Again, please remember to use the chat option or the raise your hand. And then we'll move forward with a section entitled Understanding the Competition. And we'll actually be incorporating best practices as we go through this entire agenda, but we may spend some extra time at the end to do that. At the very end, we have 2 Q&A sessions. One of them will just be a general Q&A for everybody that's on the call and on the webinar with us today. And then for anyone that has additional questions, our staff will actually be on the line until 2 p.m. Eastern Time today to answer any questions you may have. With that said, I'd like to turn over the microphone to Sylvester John, our chairman, and ask for him to lead us through the next session.
Good afternoon, everyone. I got to tell you, I don't know about you, but I'm very excited to be a part of this second edition of the Global Management Challenge USA, especially after the successful launch we had of the pilot earlier this year in the first quarter. Some of you, I believe, participated in that pilot. We had about 25 teams, and we have grown the participation significantly as we go into the second edition of a full-scale launch. Also trying to control the growth as well and building on that every year into the future years as we make Global Management Challenge much more widely known and much more widely spread across the United States. I come from a long background, over a decade in leadership development, where I had an opportunity to travel around the world, really observing different ways of talent development and building skills, particularly in the higher education space and in business schools, and got really excited about the opportunity that simulation offers, especially if it's applied in an appropriate way with a competitive element and incorporating teamwork and various angles to it. I saw how powerful it could be, and that's what motivated me to look for what are some of the best and most effective ones out there in the marketplace, and came across Global Management Challenge and really led the charge to bring that into the U.S. And I'm very fortunate to have supporting this in the U.S. a great advisory board made up of the leadership of the ACBSP, the Global Business School Network, the prime entity within the United Nations, and Fortune Magazine, New York Stock Exchange, and Hershey, that have all come together in the leadership to really pioneer making this grow in this country. The Global Management Challenge really was launched in Portugal. It's been around since 1980, operating now in about 40 countries, and almost 500,000 people have been through this program, both from the corporate world and from the university world. Large companies have been involved, like the Barclays banks, Coca-Cola, Pfizer, and hundreds of corporations around the world at various sizes have participated, and some of the leading universities in the world have also been actively involved, including top B schools in the United States. And we're seeing that not just in the pilot, but also in this competition. And I believe we'll be posting specifics of participation, university participation on the website in the next few days. The Global Management Challenge is also supported by the companies I mentioned earlier, and thanks to their support, some of you are being sponsored by them, and particularly Hershey, Peregrine Academic Services, and EDP Renewables, New York Stock Exchange, and Fortune. Our strategic alliances have allowed us to expand broadly into the university space, working closely with ACBSP, the accreditation agency, and Global Business School Network, and the UN Principles for Responsible Management Education, the UN initiative. So that said, I want to just share a little bit with you about the initiative and talk about the value proposition itself. It really drives from the idea of we read things, we hear things, we see things, and we say things, but most effectively are the things that we do. And if you see the percentage breakdown, it really leads to that doing part that drives retention and also effectiveness in terms of growth and development and from a professional development standpoint. And that's where simulation really takes us, particularly the Global Management Challenge that's much more hands-on in terms of action-oriented. So it's not a case study. It has an element beyond that because you're actually managing a virtual company. And so this is a training and development experience first and foremost. It is not a game necessarily. We do hope you have fun, and fun is a critical part of the experience and the learning, but first and foremost it is a training and development platform that's using simulation in a very unique way to develop growth. It's targeted at working professionals as well as students in the higher education space, whether it's from undergraduate or graduate school, but also even within the companies we have low-level, mid-level, and even senior-level executives. And the idea is to create a platform that's as close to real life as possible without having a lowered version for university students and a higher version for working professionals, but really saying let's put everybody through it so we all get a true sense of what management is all about, and we can benchmark ourselves and grow and learn from that process. So it's a remarkable opportunity in terms of diverse participation. As we look at the value proposition and what makes this unique, there's a lot of things to cover. But as you also think about how the structure of global management is framed, people form teams of 3 to 5. You could have multiple teams within a particular company or a university, minimum 3, maximum 5. There is 4 rounds of competition. The first round includes everybody, which is what's going to be launched here next week. And that first round will take place over a 2-week period, and decisions will be made in 5 quarters. So there will be 5 sets of decisions made. Each set of decision represents a quarter, so it's really 1 fiscal year plus 1 quarter from a business standpoint. And the top teams, about a dozen or so teams, will be advancing to the second round that will be also taking place over a 2-week period. And the goal is to manage a virtual company and seeing who can finish with a higher share price on a simulated stock exchange. And decisions are being made in essence similar to what one will make in a real-life company, looking at production, human resource, finance, and all the different functional areas of the company. And as those decisions are made, folks are impacting those share prices and competing with each other accordingly. The winners of the first round go to the second round. The winners of the second round will then come to the New York Stock Exchange on March 25th to 26th for the national final, and there will be top 8 teams that will be invited to the New York Stock Exchange on site, whereas the first and second rounds will be virtual. They will be physically on site, and over a full day they would run the competition, and we'll have a champion team, and that champion would then go on to represent the United States in the 4th round, which would be at the international final being held in Bucharest, Romania this year in the middle of April. So there will be awards given. All those that actually go through the process without being disqualified and follow the rules of the competition will be certified. There will be a certification with an EFMD stamp on it, but also the winning team would also receive all the travel costs will be covered to Romania, and should that team have paid for their registration, they would also receive monetary cash contribution to support their expenses in Romania as well. As we look at the value proposition, I think it's important to just think about this as I wrap up here and just share with you one last important point here. And as we think about the value proposition, there's really the training aspect to it. There's the networking and there's the imaging. And I talked about it being first and foremost a training and development platform. But also don't downplay the networking opportunity, not just the networking across the competition, but also even amongst your team. Oftentimes the people who form the team don't necessarily come from the same functional area, and they don't necessarily always work together. So you use this as an opportunity to network amongst yourselves, but also for those of you that do have an opportunity to come to the national final, we build that event as a networking opportunity, not just among participants, but a wide space of human resource professionals and executives that also come in to engage and connect with the participants. And it's also positioned from an image standpoint. When we look at the value proposition, there's a couple of things to highlight because it's important to see how does this simulation differ from other simulations that are out there in the marketplace, because it's very easy in the business education space to see a lot of simulations. The first is that this is one of the only simulations out there that's nationwide competitive format. It's applied in a competitive format that's nationwide, so teams are all across the country. They're all competing in the same platform, and it's in-house, where oftentimes simulations are unique to a certain number of universities or participants within a specific institution. This one is completely across the country, so it creates a wide range of motivation, because if you do win it, you are the best in the country relative to Global Management Challenge. It is also one of the few that's actually internationally accredited by one of the top accreditation agencies for business schools, EFMD. So the certification will also have that stamp, which makes it unique and also very different from a learning and development and training standpoint. This is also international in scope. It is one of the only ones out there that is fully international. The competition is run in 40 countries, and the winners then get together and compete at an international platform. So I think that's also something exciting, and you know that you're going through it, you're part of something much bigger. The scenarios being used are identical across the markets, but the calendars, of course, are all different in each country depending on their competition season. It's based on a team format, which is important in terms of building teamwork and team building, and some simulations are individual based. It's also cross-functional, so you're making decisions around human resources, marketing and sales, finance, and production. And whereas a lot of times simulations are very linear, most simulations out there either are marketing or trading and focused on one functional area. This brings it all together. So for those who are actually learning different functions within their business, training, or applying that within their corporate environment, it gives you an insight into how it all plays together within other parts of the company and parts of the business. Last few things also about it is that it's very dynamic. A lot of simulations are such that you're putting in data and the computer is spitting out a response. In this particular case, the impact of others and the competition also affect the scenario. So it's not just that you're engaged with a computer. Depending on what others in the competition are doing, the types of decisions they're making, that also impacts your share price just as it would in the real world. And that makes it much more dynamic and much closely mirrors the real world. So in essence, I think as you approach it, I encourage you to look at it as a learning and development platform, whether you're coming from the corporate side or if you're coming from the university side. It's really a true experiential learning opportunity and something that can build on your resume as you go forward into your careers. So I'm very excited for all of you. We appreciate you all being a part of this. Look forward to seeing the progression over the next few weeks. I'll leave you with a couple of tips. You know, be competitive, but focus on the experience, and don't miss out on the experience, because a lot of the development is going to come through the experience. It is very data-driven, and don't be intimidated by that. It is designed to be data-driven because in the real world, of course, as many of you know, numbers and data is critical to decision making and informing choices that we have in the marketplace. So it is designed to allow you to make informed decisions based on facts and based on analysis. So you would notice that. I encourage you to experience the briefing and the debriefing, which you'll find on the website. If you haven't done that already, there's a PowerPoint on the website. Go through the briefing. It'll help you be prepared. And also at the end, do the debriefing. It'll help you assess where you could have done better and also help you assess opportunities for continued learning. Organize yourselves. You can't really go to the battlefield without being prepared. And the more organized you are in the front end, the better you will see that you perform. Consider splitting yourselves into functional areas and having each member represent a particular functional area so you can specialize, and you can have one of you as the team leader acting as a CEO and run it the way you would a leadership team of a company. You would be much more effective in the competition if you do it that way. And the final thing is that be sure to enter your decisions correctly. Oftentimes, when you go into the simulator online and you make the decisions and sometimes you don't enter it correctly, the simulator can only process what you put in. So be very careful at that step and ensure that you're putting in the data you intend to put so that you can get the results you hope for. I wish you all the best and good luck to all of you. Zora?
Great. Thank you so much for those insights, Sylvester. Much appreciated. If any of you have questions based on what Sylvester has shared with us so far, please be sure to add those on the questions panel, and we will address those later on during our first Q&A session. With that said, I wanted to move on and quickly review all of you our competition framework and timeline. I think some of the bullet points that you see on this slide, Sylvester has already covered with us. But maybe some of the things that I would share is there will be quite a bit of ambiguity, which means that especially for those of you participating in the challenge for the first time, you may not know 100% what you're doing in the first decision set, the second decision set, or the third decision set. That is perfectly normal. It's going to take some time for you to get it. Some of it has to do with familiarizing yourself with the company that you're managing. Other parts of it has to do with how you're working together as a team. And then lastly, it has to do with how genuinely you're really spending time reviewing the information and the resources that we have available for you. So I encourage you to review the resources, but keep in mind that if there is ambiguity, it's perfectly fine. And as Sylvester mentioned earlier, we are data-driven. And so just as with any other business, especially some of the major corporations in the world, on a weekly basis or bi-weekly basis, as they review the performance of their company versus their competitors, they're not getting reports from the computer that gives them a paragraph description of how they're doing and an explanation of how and why they're performing poorly or performing well. Rather, the computer generates data for these individuals, and as leaders and company managers, they have to take that data and interpret it in a way that makes sense. So it is heavily numerically driven, but we're here to support you. And so we're going to be helping you throughout the process. One of the most important things I would tell you as a team is don't underestimate the significance of you getting together and strategizing as a team and coming up with a plan of how you'll be organized and how you'll move forward with managing your company. And here are just some key points on how exactly we will be available to help you. For this edition, what we have decided to do is, since we've received a lot of questions and past competitions, we will actually be making those questions that you're submitting to us public along with the answers. So at any point, if you have any questions, whether it's technically related or if you need advice on how to best manage your team, whatever it may be, you can submit those questions to us at competition@usamanagementchallenge.com. Post those questions on our website so that, especially for the technically related questions, in the event that other teams may or even may not have thought of those questions, and it'll be a good way for them to kind of assess what's coming in and how we can help everybody be successful. Rather than us emailing you every time a new question comes in, we highly encourage to submit your decisions on Tuesday, Wednesday, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., whatever time works best for you, you're more than welcome to. You can actually go online at any time, and you can save your data, and then when you're ready to submit, you click the submit button on the decision sheet, and you'll be able to get that information over to us. Second round of competition works the same way. Once we embark on the first round of competition, we'll send you a message next week to also give you an idea of how many teams are going to be advancing to the second round of competition. And you can look at the schedule here at your convenience. It works the same way, and it starts immediately after the conclusion of the first round. And so Lester already covered the national final and international final for you. And if you have any questions about the timeline, you can certainly get in touch with us. I'm going to move quickly. Team leaders, they like to have each person on their team assigned to a different department. So you might have someone managing human resources while someone else does finance, production, marketing, and sales. Of information, and it's actually broken down to 5 key sections. Later on, I'll actually give you a brief overview of how to best navigate through the manual without getting into too much detail. We're going to have a Q&A in just a moment, and I do apologize. I'm receiving some notes from some of you that there's a little bit of an audio disconnection from time to time. Thank you so much. I think it's because we have nearly 90 folks attending that it's a little bit difficult for all of us to stay connected. So please be patient with us. Key tools and resources. In summary, here are some pointers for you to be aware of. We actually have an entire page dedicated on our website to tools and resources. It's our website link /the_challenge. So under the_challenge, it's divided into several different sections. An overview of the competition, which just kind of breaks down for you the different levels and all of that. We have competition materials, which is where you will find all of the tools and resources that I will go over in just a moment. We've got competition rules that you can review at your leisure. We've got a latest updates section that will post key news items that I guess take place during the challenge. The FAQ that I mentioned, frequently asked questions, we haven't activated that link, but we will be posting some sample questions for you so you can get an idea of what we're already getting in, and then we'll post your incoming questions and answers on there. We will also include on that site the link to the competition portal, so that if you don't have it handy or if you don't have it memorized, any team member can go on there and access the competition portal. All right. So the tools. We've got a briefing PowerPoint, Sylvester touched on this earlier, competition manual. We have the company history. Something to note here, you will oftentimes hear the company history being referred to as a management report, and that is perfectly accurate because the company history actually is a management report. As a matter of fact, tomorrow when your team is introduced to your company profile, as part of your company history, we will be giving you access to 5 different management reports from the last 5 quarters of your company. They'll be available on that portal, and then just to sum it all up, we refer to it as the company history. It will enable you to see how your company has performed in the last 1 year and 3 months. Okay? Decision sheets, we'll go over that. The management report, so after you actually submit the decision sheet, your management report is produced, and that will be updated after each decision sheet based on the data that you've entered. Management parameters. I think some folks have underestimated the importance of management parameters. I would say that this is actually your cheat sheet to everything throughout the challenge. If you need information with regards to the European market, the NAFTA market, with regards to how decisions you make this quarter in relation, let's say, to hiring and training people versus buying machines, and whether whether that has an immediate impact in this quarter, the next quarter, the quarter after next. Well, all of that is very simply laid out in the management parameters report. It's your cheat sheet. It's something that I think all of you should have on hand with you at all times. Okay? And then we talked about these. Sylvester touched on the debriefing tool and guide, and we'll bring you a reminder of that as we get a little bit deeper towards the end of the competition process. We have a document entitled Team Roles and Responsibilities, and it's also available online. So if any of you just need some help on how to best manage your team, you can refer to that. And there's just some additional things that you might need, like a calculator and other items to organize yourself. Briefing presentation, I'm not going to actually show you this. It's available online. It's a PowerPoint presentation. Most people refer to it as a condensed and visual version of the competition manual. It extracts the key points, makes it a little bit easier for you to go through that. The competition manual itself, it has a navigation panel, and I'm actually going to show you how to access that if my computer will allow. I think some folks may have had difficulty finding it, but this will actually make your life a lot easier. So this is the competition manual, and you can actually access the navigation panel here. So under marketing, you know, you've got all these different areas: advertising, research and development, all of that. You've got all the subcategories, and you can easily get to those areas without having to navigate and scroll up and down the full document. Okay, so that's the competition manual. The competition history, like I said, is just like a management report. I will actually show you the management report in just a moment, but firstly, I want to show you the decision sheet. If you haven't looked at the decision sheet closely, I would encourage you to spend some time reviewing that. Oftentimes, I find teams investing way too much time in making decisions in areas where you can't make decisions. So if you first review this, you can actually see the areas where you have the capability of making decisions first and foremost. And then as you divide up your team into different departments and functions, those individuals can just focus on the fields that are relevant to them, prepare their data, and then when you meet as a team, all of you can discuss and make decisions on the way forward. Okay, so that's a copy of the decision sheet, and I believe we have some tips here on the decision sheet for you. You do not receive an automated confirmation email after you submit the decision sheet. Hopefully that's something that we will work on in the future year, but with that said, it is really important for you to submit your decision well in advance in the event that it didn't go through and have someone else double check or just double, triple check yourself. Okay. The management report. It's divided into 6 different parts, and what I will actually do is show you the management report here. And I apologize if it seems very small on your screen. The management reports that you will receive are actually not color-coded. We deliberately did it for the purpose of this presentation, so it's a little bit easier to navigate. As you will see, this Excel spreadsheet has 2 tabs. And this is exactly, with the exception of the colors, how you will receive a management report after you submit your first decision sheet, except it will have numbers based on the data and the decisions that you've made. The first tab here covers mainly, quantities of products that you are exporting, the raw materials that are used, where you're exporting, how you're investing in information technology, who you're hiring, how many people you're hiring, whether or not you're training them. So this is pretty much the operation side, I would say. The second tab of the spreadsheet has more to do with finances. So administrative expenses, you've got, let me try to use the highlighter here. You've got income statement here, you've got balance sheet here, and then, okay. And then down here, you've got business intelligence reports. And what this does is show you in this area the free information that comes about, that is provided to you, by our technology about your competitors. So this will kind of show you how they're performing with regards to the different products and all of that. Business activity down here, this dark section, is information that you pay for. So if you are really focused on advertising and marketing efforts, for example, you can actually pay a certain amount, I believe it's $5,000 or $7,500, to receive a customized report on how your competing teams are performing in that area. And then on the right side of this tab is your balance sheet. And more importantly, I would always advise you to read economic intelligence and then business intelligence, business report. Here in the business report area is where we will highlight key trends in world events. For example, if in the United States, 50% of employees have gone on strike, that will obviously impact your business. If there's a tsunami, a hurricane, or any other type of natural disaster, all of that will be indicated on here. So pay particular attention, because that may or may not influence your decisions in the next phase of the competition. Okay? And I know I spent a little bit of extra time on that one, but it's particularly important. And I've already shown you an example. This slide, at your convenience, you can review it, just highlights all the things that I just showed you. After you submit a decision to us by 1 p.m. Eastern Time, within 4 to 5 hours, we will actually update our competition portal with information. You'll be able to download your new management report, and you'll also be able to see the results. So we'll have a results tab where you can see how you are performing against other teams. I do remember that we didn't mention earlier the number of teams that you will be competing with. Regardless of how many teams are actually participating in this first round of competition, your team will not be competing with more than 7 others. We actually put you in different groupings of up to 8 teams, and you can refer to them as groups. So at any point in case, you're competing up to 7 other teams, and you'll be able to see not only how you're performing against those 7 other teams, but you'll also be able to see how other teams are performing against each other, because we'll be disclosing how other groups are performing as well. Okay. And I've already talked about the management parameters. I'll just quickly show you, because it is important. what that looks like. Again, remember this is your cheat sheet. It's a very simple document. It's got demographic information, marketing costs, information on internet, maintenance, anything and everything you need to know. So please keep that in mind. Okay. I believe we might be ready for Q&A. I'm going to skip through the next couple of slides because I told you that you can review these guidelines, rules, and responsibilities at your leisure, and we'll send you more information about the debriefing tools. Your number one resource, though, is going to be the competition manual. So I would highly encourage for you to spend time referring back to that one. So I'm going to stop right there. And again, if you have any questions, you've got a chat window where you can type in questions. And we're going to review those for you. And just to clarify, too, in case hopefully I didn't confuse anybody, when you do submit your decisions by 1 p.m. each day, after 4 to 5 hours, we will have the results available for you. So it will not be immediate. And we will be sending out an email communication, not necessarily within 4 to 5 hours, even though you're welcome to go online and check on the competition portal. But we will send out, let's say by end of day or the following morning, a highlight of the results, and then also share with you newer tips and I guess resources on how to perform better. Okay. So it looks like we do have some questions, and we will take a moment to review those. It seems that most of the questions had to do with the little bit of an audio issue we had earlier. Okay. I think we've got one question here with regards to the assessment, which we haven't addressed. I know that a lot of you received notifications from us about the pre-assessment. The pre-assessment is a requirement for those of you that are seeking to receive the accredited certification from us, and the deadline for that is today. So if you haven't yet completed the assessment, I'd highly encourage for you to go through and complete that, and you can reach out to us with any questions or difficulties that you have. We are not grading anyone on the assessments, nor will we look poorly on anyone that doesn't score high. As a matter of fact, the scores are just fine. We are providing the assessments for you as a tool to be able to identify strengths and areas for improvement, and hopefully if your post-test results indicate an improve in score, then I think that would be a really valuable tool for you to add on to your resume, so you can keep that in mind. So with that said, we'll go ahead and move on to understanding the competition. As many of you know, we've kind of gone through some of this information. We're working on strategic management, decision-making, teamwork, and leadership skills. And our focus is the share price. So anytime you go on the portal and you check results, the most important thing is how are you performing in the share price area. And one of the questions that we have received numerous times in the past is with regards to performance after the third quarter. It is very normal for us to see a change in results, typically during the third quarter and thereafter, and many have wondered why. Again, keeping in mind that some decisions you make may not necessarily take immediate effect. They take effect in the quarter after the one that you're in. So by the time that you do that, for example, with the purchasing of machines or hiring and training certain individuals, that doesn't take effect immediately. So by the time that it does affect, it might be the third quarter, it might be the fourth quarter, and that's when it starts to really impact your share price. So sometimes we will see teams that are consistently leading in the first and second, and maybe even the third quarter, may or may not maintain their spot in the fourth and fifth quarter because of the decisions that either they or their competitors have made at the beginning of the competition. So that's not necessarily a reflection of you doing something bad or doing something outstanding, but just make sure that as you make certain decisions, you understand when they will actually be implemented and how they will affect you. Okay. And a keynote that we'll just highlight to you is after, I'll use this as an example, after you submit your first decision to us on Thursday, January 31st, between that period and when your next decision is due, which is the following Monday, you're not necessarily in a specific quarter. So you're kind of in this imaginary period. So as you get together with your teams and you're talking about making decisions, you just have to keep in mind that you're making decisions for the next quarter. And you're not in a specific quarter at that particular time. This slide is meant to just kind of illustrate that. Hopefully I've helped to clarify that a little bit, but if you have any questions about it, let me know. Just remember that as you move from one decision set to another decision set, you aren't necessarily in a quarter. Does that make sense? Okay. This kind of shows you the competition cycle. You can come back to this and review it. Making decisions. One of the great things about our simulator is that it enables you to make up to 66 decisions, although you're not required to make 66 in all these different areas. And we have some sample decisions here for you listed on this slide. And they deal with all of the different functional areas. You can look at that at your leisure. We're going to give you a brief overview of some, not all, of the following slides. Like I said, we've got quite a bit of information to go through. You can always come back to the PowerPoint and review this, and you can always shoot us an email. Okay? Key things to keep in mind. You and your competitors are all going to be managing the same company at the beginning. And when I say the same company, I just mean the same company profile. Okay? So you will be managing the same products within the same geographical areas. Our simulator will not actually tell you what those products are, but I think in the past some individuals have had difficulty kind of visualizing what their products would be. So as a team, if you think it makes better sense for you to label a product something, so if you decide you want to be a toy manufacturer, you're more than welcome to, as a team, just as a point of reference to make it easier for yourselves, create, product 1, 2, and 3 and label them something, and then be able to kind of, create pricing strategy around all of that. But remember that every single team that you're competing against may or may not be reviewing it that way. But I think just, as a surface point of reference type of aid, you might consider taking that strategy. You'll have 3 different products that you will be managing, and they will be in the European Union as well as NAFTA, as well as the Internet. So you have 3 different markets where you will be reaching out to promote and to sell your products. And you'll see on the following slides, including this one, we have a box with just some key notes here. So as you come back to this PowerPoint presentation, I encourage for you to pay attention to these things, because these are just some key things for you to keep in mind. Okay. Apologies, I think my PowerPoint slide got ahead of me. We'll cover the economic environment briefly. The economic environment slide. We'll do world events. World events, I already mentioned to you where you can find them on the management report. It's on that second tab. Take a look at it. They may or may not impact the decisions that you make, but they exist. I apologize. We have a little bit of a lag here with our slides. Marketing. So we're going to go through each of the departments, and with marketing, your ideal responsibility is to create demand and to sell the product. And when you receive your management reports, you just pay particular attention to pricing, number of employees, salaries, and other key areas. You can actually, under the marketing arena, I think you can purchase additional reports for advertising to see how your competitors are performing in different areas, whether they're investing more in corporate imaging or internet marketing or marketing more in a specific geographic region, whether it's the European Union or NAFTA. Okay. And I apologize, we're lagging here a little bit with the PowerPoint. This slide here on marketing just lists the different areas that you're going to be responsible for. After marketing, we're going to cover, I'm sorry everyone for the slight delay. Distribution and production. Okay. It seems that I have a little bit of an issue with my PowerPoint presentation, and my sincere apologies for that. I too am seeing a blank screen if you are. There we go. Under distribution, again, you've got your 3 products, your 3 different markets, and you've got your consumers. This slide covers the types of decisions that you'd have to make and gives you kind of a visual overview. What we'll next talk about is production, and while I'm waiting for my PowerPoint to catch up with me, I'll just highlight verbally under production what you have to consider. Under production, you'll have to consider machines, whether you're investing in new machines, whether you're investing in repairing machines, the space availability, transportation, storage, purchase of raw materials, production management, and information technology. Also in the area of production, you have to think about assembly and workers, and that's why production, just as with any other department, will be working very closely with human resources to make sure that there are enough machinists and trained assembly line workers to make production a smooth process. And again, I apologize, but it seems that my PowerPoint is not functioning properly, so I'll just go through and cover some key points on other areas. Human resources, you'll be making decisions on the labor market, specialized labor and training, remuneration and conditions, and top management. You'll also be looking at absenteeism, recruitment. You'll be looking out for strikes, staff reduction. You'll have to consider areas that affect recruitment and team morale, motivation. And keep in mind that the decisions that you make really do significantly affect the company's capacity to operate efficiently. So human resources role is very, very important. And you'll also keep in mind in human resources that your workforce is recruited in a competitive market. So as you are considering wages and as you're considering training, make that decision based on what your competitor may be offering that individual. Would they be offering them training? Would they be offering them wages that are better than yours or not better than yours? And how can you best influence those individuals to stay with your company for the long term? Under the area of finance, you will be focusing on profitability, investments and loans, and fixed assets, taxation, and dividend policies. And we've got several slides here focused on finance, so it's unfortunate that we can't view it, but I would encourage for you to come back and review it. We will also, I will also highlight about cash flow. You'll be looking at short-term loans, secured versus unsecured loans, and kind of how all of that comes together. Something to keep in mind with dividends is that dividends are not paid every quarter. They're paid at specific times in the cycle. So as you review the parameters in the competition manual, don't forget to pay dividends because it may not impact you in the immediate upcoming quarter, but it will eventually affect you in the quarter after. And we've seen that time and time again with competing teams. With that said, I'm actually going to wrap up the session for now because we have shared with you a lot of information, and I feel that it's going to be less effective with your inability to see the PowerPoint presentation. I'll go ahead and take some questions here, and as I said, we will stay online to answer any other questions that you may have. And we're going to go to the chat windows now to see what kind of questions are coming in from the audience. Okay. Someone asked, for a team of 3 people, what is the best management strategy? That's a very good question. We do have, within our team formats, we recommend anywhere between 3 to 5 people. Our average team size is 4, but we've definitely seen a lot of teams that have been very successful with just 3 individuals, and I think that you still have the opportunity to do very well. With a team of 3, I think that maybe the best approach to take is to divide up the workload in a way that makes sense to you. So each of you can definitely specialize in an area where you have expertise, whether it's HR or finance, and then have certain areas that you come together on and make decisions. So while each of you have divided up the workload and you have your specialty areas, you may still decide that as a team you'll make decisions on human resources, and as a team you'll make decisions on trading or importing and exporting to other regions via internet or any other means. So if you reserve certain categories that you feel are most critical for discussion as a team and decision making as a team, you can set those aside, have each people specialize in their own area, and when you have your, let's say, group call or face-to-face meeting or Skype call, each of you can kind of present on your specialized area, suggest certain routes to take, and then spend a little bit of extra time in the areas where you've decided to make decisions as a team and make those decisions while you're together on the phone or in person. Other questions? Let's see. Is the PowerPoint available for download? Yes, the PowerPoint is available. And what we will actually do is, on the link that I had shared with you earlier, usamanagementchallenge.com/thechallenge, that is where we will post a copy of the PowerPoint as well as a recording of this presentation for you to download. Another question that we've received here is the data system designed according to our text material and books, or more like business in the real world? That's a very good question, and it is coming from a university participant. Our simulation technology is based on the business world, but it obviously uses a lot of concepts that you learn in the university setting. So I think it should be relatively easy to navigate through. Is our simulated company based in the United States or global? Good question. It is based here in the United States. Another question that has come in is, how did the U.S. team do in the last management challenge? Last year, the U.S. team did quite well. Our national champion team was one from EDP Renewables. They went to Ukraine and represented the United States. I am not sure exactly how we placed, but I believe that the team did fairly well. And Sylvester, if you're on the line, maybe I can ask for you to chime in and help answer that question, if you recall. Sylvester, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. No, the U.S. team went to the international final for the first time. They did extremely well. Unfortunately, they did not make it to the second round of the competition. They were second place or third place in their first league. But they were competing, of course, against a lot of countries that have been going to that competition for 10, 15, 20 years. So they did not make it to the second round, but they did represent the country very well.
Great. Sylvester, did you have anything else to share as well? I know I shared quite a bit of information, and unfortunately we had a little bit of an issue here with the PowerPoint. While I review the other questions, please feel free to chime in and share anything I may have missed.
No, I think one observation that we do see time and time again, and we also saw it at the international final with the U.S. team, was that sometimes you may be doing very well in being in the top place in the first 3 quarters, and then when you get to the 4th and 5th quarter, it turns completely flip side. And the U.S. team in the national final did extremely well. I think they were first or second all the way to the 4th quarter, and then the situation changed. So as you're managing a company, it's important to think long-term as well as short-term. So as you're making decisions that are allowing you to win in the short term, keep in mind that sometimes companies and management makes long-term decisions that you don't see the payoff immediately, but as it materializes, it pays off in that 4th quarter. So if you want to actually finish with a strong win, keep your eye on that long-term as well, or you might be surprised in the 4th and 5th quarter in terms of the change that occurs.
Great, thank you. Another question that has come in is with regards to finance. I will read the question and hopefully I've understood it fine. The question is, regarding finances, does the online tools help to predict or calculate future cash flows, balance sheets, etc., or are we expected to make the calculations as a team? The answer is you are expected to make the calculations together as a team. We don't provide an actual online tool that does it for you, but I am pretty certain there are a lot of things that you can Google and find online yourself. But very good question. And I think we have a couple more here. Okay. All right, a question that has come in is just a general one, stating my team was formed within the last month. Well, after the trial period, how much of a disadvantage is that? Is there enough information available for us to catch up and be successful? The answer to that is absolutely. As much as we'd love for teams to sign up months and months in advance, unfortunately that's not always the case. But we've always had a very good lineup of high-quality teams, and as a matter of fact, we typically did a lot of last-minute registrations. So we've been flooded this week with a lot of registrations from brand new teams that haven't participated in the past. I think so long as you review the materials, reach out to us with any questions that you have, we'll be more than happy to help you. We can't necessarily help you make decisions. Our team is available here at the office. You can send us an email with your questions, or you can actually give us a call. Our phone number is included in a lot of the email communications that we send out to you. You can also give us a call if you just want to spend a few minutes with us over the phone to make you feel comfortable. We'll be happy to spend that time with you. Okay. Other questions that we have here. All right. All right, a very good question here. Should we make decisions based only on the material given, or should we take the real business world experience and knowledge into consideration? There's a couple of different ways to answer this question, and I would say what you want to do is make your decisions based on the information that the simulation technology provides you. If I understood your question correctly, we don't want you making decisions on your company based on world events that are happening today, for example. You just really need to focus on what's happening in this simulation world and kind of look at it from an inverse perspective. Imagine that what the information we are sending you is indeed what is your reality today. So as you sit in your office, or as you sit in your desk or in your room, your reality is the information that we send to you. Okay. Other questions? And if I misunderstood your question in any way, please feel free to write us or ask again. Okay, another question that we've received here is the competition manual is dated 2011. Is this the correct version? Yes, it is the correct version. Our competitions occur at different cycles of the year in all the different countries. So technically, the competition that you're participating in right now is the 2012-2013 version. So the manual that you're looking at was crafted in 2011, and we will likely have some updates sometime in the middle of this summer. So you're using the correct version. One thing I will mention on the manual is that the language on it is not necessarily American English, and a couple of people have made comments about that. But my best response to that is, we're working in a global environment. Maybe in many cases, if there are multinational companies and materials are produced here out of the United States, maybe those that are based abroad would look at it from the same view. I believe that it's very easy to understand, though. If there are parts of any of our materials that you're struggling to understand, please feel free to reach out to us. But we will look at, hopefully, in the next edition, revising the manual to where it's maybe in a language, in an American English language that is more familiar to all of us. Okay. All right. What would you recommend if there is no native English speakers in a team? Last year, when we launched our pilot edition, I would say we had a pretty significant representation of international students from the university sector involved, and also folks from our company side that were also international company folks that were based here in the United States. So it's something that I think works very well with the teams. And for individuals in a handful of our countries that participate in the challenge, the materials typically that they receive or the simulation that they use are oftentimes in English. So it seems to work for them, and I think that it would be perfectly fine here as well. Okay. Another good question. Will share price reset after each competition round? No, your share price does not reset. Your share price will just be directly influenced by the decisions that you make. So it's not going to go back to the original share price that you had. It will just evolve based on your decisions. Good question. All right. I think we have a couple more. I think a lot of the questions just have to do with how to get a copy of our webinar and our PowerPoint. And as I look through these questions, I'll just remind you that you can find those on our site under the Challenge tab. We'll actually upload the PowerPoint within the next hour, and we will upload a recording of this by the end of the day today. With that said, I think we've reviewed all of the questions. If there are any more questions that you have, I would encourage for you to shoot us an email, and we will be happy to answer this for you. All right, everyone. Thank you again so much for your time, especially for the folks that have stayed with us until this long. Apologies on any technical issues. It was out of our hands with regards to the PowerPoint issue and some of the noise control issues that we had. But thank you again so very much. This was very enjoyable. We're looking forward to all of you participating in the Global Management Challenge. We're here to help you. Feel free to reach out. Wishing you all the best. Most importantly, have fun and make this experience hopefully one of the best you've ever had. Take care, everyone. Have a great day. Have a great weekend, and we'll be in touch with you again very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.